You're listening to the David Cassidy Connections with your host, Louise Poynton.
Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of the David Cassidy Connections, your podcast all about David from fans, friends, colleagues and anyone touched by his life, explaining the influence he had. Thank you for downloading this podcast. Remember to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from so you can be alerted when new episodes are released. Find us on social media, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube, and thank you for your wonderful feedback on shows so far. But if you've missed any or have just found us, all are archived on your preferred listening platform. So, on to today's show. I'm delighted to welcome my guest today, who is a lady I've been trying to pin down for some time. Since she retired from teaching, we thought she would have more time on her hands, but life has been busier than ever. Therefore, it is great to finally connect with Barb Collentine. We have known each other through Facebook for some years, and Barb has been a David fan for more than half a century. She created and runs the David Cassidy Virtual Fan Club and is president of the I Think I Love You Animal Foundation, established in David's memory. She was lucky enough to meet David and hopefully will talk to us about her own brush with velvet. And she also has a dog named, of course, Cassidy. Welcome to the show from sunny Florida, Barb.
Hello, Louise. It's so great. It's so great to see you, to meet you. It just really is. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm just so happy that for your success, for your book, and I'm thrilled to be on the podcast. Your Ruth McCartney, I can't even describe how much I enjoyed that one. I didn't even know who she was. I never even knew Paul McCartney had like a stepsister. So for her to be so friends with David was great.
Oh, well, thank you. It's great to meet you. I feel as though we're old friends already.
Yeah, a lot of emails back and forth.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So are you actually busier now than you were when you were teaching?
Well, it's a different kind of busy. We've actually made a lot of friends down here. So already, I didn't really do much when I was teaching, like during the week. I really didn't go out much because I had to get up early. I'm sure you know. And I didn't really like to go out at night. And so now that I don't have to get up and go to work or prepare for lessons and things like that, I find that we're out and about more. We've bought some bicycles and we're out in the nice weather quite often exercising. When I say we, I mean me and my husband, obviously. My father-in-law just moved in with us, and we are kind of rearranging our life a little bit around him, which is great. And we actually are going to move into our final home that we bought in about a month. Wow. So that'll make us even more busy. Yeah, so we have a lot going on. And in the meantime, all the different things like hobbies like David and other things that I'm interested in and stuff like that. So we're fitting it all in.
So let's tell people that you were living in New Jersey, close to West Orange, where David spent his formative years.
Yes, I grew up about 40 minutes from 23 Elm Street in West Orange, as we all know it. And I don't think I really ever knew he even lived there until, like, the actual address, until the book, his book came out. And I actually had a picture of the house, as you know, in the book, and him standing on the front stoop. And I had the address. And it just never even occurred to me to go there. I've never, until, of course, he passed away. And then my husband graciously took me there because I still get emotional talking about it. I wanted to go when the weather got nice because he passed in the winter, and winters in New Jersey, as you know, are a little brutal. And so we went, I think I want to say May of 2018. And it was very moving. I was the only person there that day, obviously. It's a normal house street, very suburban neighborhood. And when I did go, it was a couple of weeks after he passed, the first birthday of his passing. And when I went to the house, there was a little wreath with his picture in the middle. It was plastic flowers. And I believe it had been placed there on his birthday a couple of weeks earlier. And it was still sitting out there by the front stoop. And I've been back since, and I've talked to people who live near there, and the owner does leave the things out there that people leave in memory of David. So the guy knows, well aware of where he lives and the importance of it to people, and he leaves everybody alone. You know, I've been there several times with a group of people now that I can find it so easily. When I was living in New Jersey, and I'm sure he knew we were out there taking pictures and things like that. And we met a next door neighbor, and they're just so gracious to the fans. And they say that people come on significant days, like on the 12th of April, and they come on the 21st, and they just leave it. We actually had, since we made friends with the neighbor, the guy who lives next door, because the guy who owns the house doesn't come out when this is going on. No. He doesn't seem to come out. And so when we met the neighbor, we became friends with him, and we sent flowers there to him this year on the 21st. And he was gracious enough to put them on the lawn for us and take pictures and send them to us. And we posted them on Facebook.
Why do you think it was important to go there?
Why was it important for me to go there? It was important because I felt lost. I felt really lost. And this is where I get emotional, sorry. I just felt like I needed to connect because now the connection was gone. You know, like all those years that I said, oh, I'll go see him eventually again. And I didn't, because, you know, you take it for granted. And so I felt a little bit lost, and I needed to go there. And so when I still saw that wreath there, that was very moving for me, because it had been a couple of weeks since he had passed. And I took a lot of pictures, and I just wanted to be around the aura there of him, which, not to continue talking so much, but I actually went to his Fort Lauderdale house before I went to the West Orange house, because I happened to be in Florida the Christmas after he passed. So it was like 4 weeks later. And my husband said, why don't we do a road trip today to Fort Lauderdale? It was 2 hours south of where we were in Florida. And I said, would you mind? And he said, no. And so we went to the house, the mansion, that you can Google it and see it. We couldn't get in it. There was nobody home. And it was the same thing, Louise. It was, I needed to be near his stuff. I can't really explain it. It's been a very confusing time for me when he first passed, as I'm sure a lot of fans felt the same way, confusion. But that's basically why I just needed, I don't want to say closure, but I just needed to see if I could be around his stuff, I guess, as close as I could get.
Yeah. No, any fan will understand that. And anyone who has idolized anybody from Elvis to George Michael to John Lennon, you need to be there. You need to be walking in the footsteps of time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That's how I felt. You know, I took a lot of pictures there also at the mansion, and silly things like outside the mailboxes on the outside of the gate. And I would think like, oh, this is where his mail was, you know, like dumb stuff. Like you almost go back to being 11, you know? Yeah. But you just do imagine it. And I had a couple of weird experiences while I was there, like almost like it was a sign. I went to, so we went to see the house, and then we went to the beach, and it started to rain a little bit. And so we started to walk by the marina. This is all within 10 minutes of where David had lived. Obviously boats were big in his life too. And we've seen many pictures of him on boats. And so I was walking in this little strip mall with my husband, and we're going to this marina because we have boats and we always like to look at boats. Right. And he stops me. My husband is amazing with all the David Cassidy stuff. It's very strange. He stops me and he goes, look in that window. And it was like a store for kids to learn how to swim. There was no one in the store. The door was open, but you know, it's Florida. It's like whatever, you know. And he goes, look in the window of that store. This was 10 minutes after we left David's house. And I look in the window and I see all these like little kid things like floaties and, you know, little fish decorations. And all of a sudden in the middle of the window is this wooden sign, has nothing to do with the store. And it says cherish in big black letters on it. And I'm standing there and I'm like, Oh my gosh. And I'm like, I've got to have it. I've got to have that. I was right 10 feet away from where David grew up. I mean, we just saw him, the house. So I went in and I found the manager and I told her the story. She got a little teary. Remember, this was like a month after he passed. And she said, well, how much do you want for it? And I said, an amount. And she kind of smiled and laughed. And she just said, you can just have it. And it wasn't even a decoration. It wasn't even anything to do with the store. It was something that she found in her house about a month earlier. Yeah. And she said, oh, let me just take this and throw it in the store in the window. It was very strange. So I took it home and I still have it. And it's a cherished piece in my house. It's like, and my husband totally gets it, so that was cool. Yeah, that was cool.
When you have experiences like that, does it make you believe in angels?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. We have a lot of angel beliefs in this house, and I don't know. I guess angels, but also signs that the person is aware that you loved them. That's really what I think of it, is that there's an energy that you give off that applies to that person. Like looking at that shower sign, I didn't think of my mom. I didn't think of, and I thought of obviously David. And I feel like that energy is felt by that person who has passed, and they kind of like swoop in and they show you, yeah, I'm still here and I know you love me. And that's just how I feel. I just feel that signs like that are love returned and felt by the person that you associate the sign with. So
that is very, very powerful. I know of many fans who have experienced his presence. And it's very important. Are you looking for closure? But you just need to know that he knew how much we all loved him. Yeah,
it's important. Otherwise, it's like almost like an emotion that has nowhere to go. So, and you stifle it and you feel uncomfortable. So when you meet people or you see these signs, you don't think you're nuts. It validates that, because this was such a big chunk of your life. It kind of validates it.
So when did David first appear on your radar as a little girl?
I would say it was probably the Partridge Family. I know in England that you guys didn't get the Partridge Family till after he was a singing sensation over there. But I knew nothing of him. I know a lot of my friends saw him on Adam 12, but I had never seen those shows with him on them or didn't recognize him. And so I guess it was the Partridge Family, and especially the music. As soon as I was given my first album, which I want to say probably was up to date, that's when everything changed for me, because the music really impacted me. And it made me pay more attention to David. And then, of course, he was so, good looking, obviously. Yeah. And I just fell in love with the show and him, and never looked back. Never been out of my life.
That is such a strong presence for so many young girls, as well as boys as well. But for you, why was he so important?
This is going to sound really weird, but I'm a teacher. I was an English teacher. Words have been my whole life. I've loved to read since I was a kid, big chapter books, they call them, whatever. And I never saw him in concert when I was a little kid, which I feel, very regretful about, but what can you do? I saw him when he was older and stuff like that. And, I hear these stories about these kids, like women or whatever, throwing their underwear or just throwing these personal, things at him, or saying like all these Roman, obviously he was adorable and I loved him, and I thought he was really cute, and I had his posters and stuff. But for me, I really think it was the music and the lyrics that really, really impacted me enormously as an 8 and 9-year-old, 10-year-old little girl. I mean, I'm just starting to read. I'm just starting to learn to love language. And I would listen to the records, like Up to Date, Sound Magazine, and I would be listening to the lyrics and think to myself, I'm reading like Little House on the Prairie, and I'm reading like Charlotte's Web, these books, and I'm thinking to myself, even as like a 10 or 11-year-old, as I'm becoming more aware, I'm like, oh, you can do that, like with words, you can do that in a song, and I have to like really credit Tony Romeo to that, because I really feel like he was just as huge an influence on me and the way my life went than David. And I get a little emotional here. The lyrics of the songs, the Tony Romeo songs, were life-changing for me. They really showed me that there were no rules when it came to writing. And you, as long as you were expressing yourself, you could do it in any way you want. Like some of those songs, like I can't even rattle them all off. I mean, we'd be here for hours. But just like Together, the song Together, on the Notebook album, the first couple of lines of that song, they're so clever. They're so unique in terms of them and running and hiding, and so they didn't want to be caught with their love and all that. And just, the cleverness of songs like that. I mean, I can't even think of them off the top of my head, but I really listened to those songs and thought to myself, wow, that's clever. And I'm 10. I'm not like 25. I'm 10 years old and I'm going, wow, that's clever. That's cute. Oh, that's a great sentence. And so that's really what the impact for me was the songs. And of course the performances on the TV show. David was just like, come on. I mean, he just belted these songs out. And I mean, I find it hard to believe, he didn't like the Partridge Family. Of course he did. You could see him singing his heart out in these songs, like in these clips even. The guy's amazing. It's just amazing. So that was a big impact for me, was that, if that makes any sense.
It does completely, because so many people will say, oh, I was influenced by the Partridge Family music to become a songwriter, to become a performer, to pick up the guitar. For you, it turned out to be a career as an English teacher.
Yeah, as a writer, as somebody who loved to play with words, somebody who even when I read other books, obviously stuff I didn't write, I would look at a sentence and go, wow, that's a great sentence. And I would look at it again and I would just read it again and I would just kind of stop and savor it. Just kind of like with the Partridge Family music, when I'm listening to it now on my phone, when I'm walking the dog, and I just stop in my tracks and I get like teary-eyed, like it's sublime. The music is sublime. I mean, you had John Baylor on. I just, so educational for me. I think I cried after it was over. I love that man.
Yeah.
That man is amazingly talented. There was so much about him I didn't know. I couldn't get enough of him talking. His experience with that and his credibility that he lended to those sessions and the lyrics that, that people kind of scoffed off the music. And it's like, no, no, there's some real talent there. And it did change the way I write and think about words. Absolutely.
So it was that influence which led you to become a teacher.
Yes, to become a teacher, that I wanted to show kids. And I don't even think I understood that impact till looking back, even like a couple of years ago. Like again, in the journey of why am I so upset that this person has passed? He never came over my house, like I didn't know him. And, so you kind of try to figure it out. And it kind of occurred to me, that I'm doing to my students, trying to get them to love to read, trying to get them to love to write, look at their writing. How could I say it better? The way that I was impacted, by song lyrics. Yeah, definitely. That was my first experience with understanding lyrics, and that it's a process and that it's a game sometimes. Because when I was growing up, Bing Crosby was on in my house. He's another my second favorite singer. Again, beautiful lyrics, wonderful, voice. But I was hearing it when I was like 5, 6, 7. I think I heard somebody say on your podcast previously that this is the first, it might have been even you. This was the first music that was ours, right? I didn't have to listen to Dean Martin and Bing Crosby anymore. Not that I didn't love them, but I wanted to give to my students the ability to appreciate language. And I think it came from music lyrics rather than even from reading. So yeah, to your point, correct. I don't even think I realized that till about 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I think about it a lot. Because it continues as I listen to the music over and over again. I just still am blown away by
because so often English teachers will be influenced by the classic works.
I don't even think I read the classic works until I was a teacher and had to teach them. Yeah, so you're really doing a deep dive here with me. So yeah, it really was the Partridge Family music that really influenced my love of words and language. Absolutely, definitely was.
And did you ever have the opportunity during your, what was it, 27 years as a teacher, take any of your students through the journey that you had and explain to them about how words can be used, not just in prose, but into music?
Yes, actually, I have done that. I actually, when David turned 50, I took a big risk. So that would have been when? That would have been when did he turn 50? I don't remember. But it was 2000 maybe? Yeah, 2000. So I was teaching maybe only 6 years. I took a big risk and I actually threw a birthday party for him in my class. And I put a big picture of him on the blackboard. And he would love this because kids walked in and went, "Who's she?" Which is what he used to say all the time. And I was like, "Who's she? Ask your mothers." And so I told them the night before their homework was to make cards for him. So they all brought all these cards in with pictures off the internet because the internet was just coming out and they had computers and stuff.
Yeah.
So I talked a little bit about who he was and I talked about the music to them. I guess it did make an impact on them because that summer, one of my students went to Vegas and he was starring at the Copa. And as I guess she was driving down the highway with her mother in the car, she took a picture of the billboard on the street and a lot of the indoor signage of the show. And she got them printed out because there was no phones then. And she gave them to me. And I still have them. So, and then the other thing I did was we had a course, history of rock and roll in my high school. And the guy who was the teacher of it asked me to come in and do a guest talk on the Partridge Family. And this was all before David passed. So this was because the people in my life know that he was significant. And so he said to me, "Oh, I know you love the Partridge Family. We come in and talk about being a teen idol and having 45s. And so I went in and spoke basically about the power of lyrics and the power of understanding them."
He was far more than Keith Partridge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was so much more substance to him as a musician that people forget about. They can't look beyond the idolatry and actually see what they should see. They see what they want to see.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I talked about with the kids in the rock and roll lecture. How you can go from a group and then become this star on your own with other talents. And I think I gave them the example of like Justin Timberlake, who was, he was on the Mickey Mouse Club and then he was in this other band. And now he's like this well-respected musician. And so I talked to them a little bit about what happened to him when he left the Partridge Family. And I think they learned a lot. So I was trying to educate them as well, Louise.
Yeah. Well, that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
It's like the beautiful people are always the ones that suffer the most.
Yeah.
You look at Marilyn Monroe, Princess Diana, Elvis, people who have got that aura about them. Sometimes they seem to suffer the most in their personal and professional lives because people will only see what they want to see.
Yeah, and I wasn't embarrassed or anything when he asked me to do it. It wasn't like people were like, "Oh, the Partridge, you're still talking about the Partridge Family?" I was proud to stand up there and say, this music's been around for a long time. It's not going anywhere. And because 2000, obviously. And I was proud to educate them, to use your word. And it was fun.
Of course, David has also brought so many of us together and established so many wonderful friendships. Tell me how the virtual David Cassidy fan club came to be, because it actually goes back to the first walk round New York City.
Yeah, it's kind of an involved story, and it totally happened accidentally. If we didn't have the pandemic, I don't even think it would be a thing. But what happened was, is that, as you just mentioned, that there was a tribute walk that would go on. It started in 2018, April, after David passed. And a girl who was in Long Island, her name is Karen, she put a post on Facebook that she wanted to do a tribute walk in New York City. If any fans around the area were interested, she wanted to do it on April 12th, which was the first birthday after he passed. I jumped on it. I was like, I want to go. I want to meet other people. I had never met a David Cassidy fan like myself since I was 9 or 10. Everybody grows up and goes on their way. And I kind of always kept it hidden because it didn't really apply to anybody. So when I saw this, and I had been on Facebook since he passed for quite a while, so I contacted her. I met her. I met a handful of other people. I don't think a lot of people were willing to risk meeting a bunch of strangers in New York City. It's a big risk, and you don't know what these people are going to be like. I mean, I had no idea. So I met her, and I met a bunch of other people. We walked around, and it was great. And I became very good friends with her because I only lived about 45 minutes away from her, being in Jersey. So then the next year she had the second tribute walk. I went to that. I helped her out running it a little bit. And then the third year was the pandemic. So I was home virtually teaching, and we had been talking about, are we going to have it? Should we cancel it? So obviously we had to cancel it. And I said to her, hey, I said, why don't we do a virtual one? And this way we can invite the people who were going to come and we can still have it. I said, I've been playing around with this Google stuff, this Zoom stuff at school, and we had it on Zoom. So now we had the opportunity to invite people who weren't just going to come physically. We can invite anyone. So we did end up inviting Bruce Kimmel, and we had him on, and we had Johnny Ray Miller on, and we had about 30 other fans, and it was so much fun. They came on, they did their thing. Bruce talked about, you've had him on, his great stories. And it was really surreal, actually. And then they left, and the 30 of us or the 20 of us were sitting there, and we started playing games and singing songs and laughing. And we had never, like you and I had never met. We had never met each other before. The only reason I knew your voice was because of your podcast, but I didn't know these people's voices. I didn't know anything. It was really, really fun. So I went to bed that night and I couldn't sleep. I'm like, I didn't want that to end. That was really fun. So I got up the next morning and I emailed some of my closest David friends that I had met in the last 2 years. And I said, I want to do this thing. Do you think I'm crazy? And I want to make it a virtual fan club. I want to do a couple of meets a year so everybody can meet and have as much fun as we did from all over the world. We know we're out there. We're on Facebook. And I said, would you guys want to, help me run it? And they were like, absolutely. And that's how it started. And we have a page, obviously, like there's Facebook pages. And then every couple of months, we'll have a meet and I'll advertise it and people will sign up. And let me tell you, it was a risky thing to do. I didn't know. I'm like, what am I doing? I mean, I'm going to do a broadcast all over the world. I don't know how this is going to, like with you and me and having Wi-Fi issues. I'm like, how is this going to work? How am I going to get a person from Belgium to be able to do this? And it's free. So it's like, it really is a good draw for people because they don't have to pay. I was nervous. I was very nervous. I'm like, are people going to even want to be on the page? Are people going to want to do this? And let me tell you, it exploded. Like it's been extremely, extremely rewarding, very rewarding. I love it.
I think it's because we all need each other.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that you can be talking to somebody on Facebook for months or private messaging for months or reading people's comments for months, but you don't know really what they look like, how they sound, what their demeanor is. And then when you get on these virtual meets and you meet these people and you hear them talk and they're sharing stories, and it's amazing. It can be very emotional. It can be very emotional when people who are on one of the virtual meets see a friend they've been talking to for the first time in months and they can just burst into tears. Like, I've done it. For me, the best part of the meets are when we sign everybody on, and almost like the Brady Bunch squares start growing and somebody comes on and you know their name, and then somebody comes on and somebody recognizes somebody from across the squares and goes, oh my God, it's you. And everybody's saying hello to each other, and everybody finally, I mean, I get very teary-eyed. It's probably the best part of the meet for me is the sign on. It's just wonderful.
You share stories as well. You have your Brush with Velvet section.
Yes, one of the people who runs it with me, either Annette, Karen, or Joanne, or Robin, I don't remember who it was. We decided to have a segment called Brush with Velvet where somebody will email us and tell us a story of how they met David, or even, somebody, Brian or Susan or somebody on the show. Mostly it's David. And then they have their own 15 minutes where they get to talk and tell the story, show pictures, and we've had quite a few people telling us these amazing, hilarious stories. Some of them are emotional. and waiting outside elevator doors for him. Like, I never did anything like that. And to listen to these people tell this, and we're cracking up laughing, and people are interrupting and asking questions, and it's so much fun. And then we have another segment called Memorabilia Moment, which is somebody who's got something that means something to them that's associated with the Partridge Family or David or anything. They show it to us on the meet and explain the story behind it. And so it focuses on the fans a little bit. Occasionally we'll have a guest, but we've been lucky with some of our guests, but we like to keep it fan based also, because then it's the more silliness and we can talk. And it's really, really been a really rewarding experience. And I love it. I mean, I really feel like one of the benefits of it that I never saw coming was so many people are becoming friends because they see each other on the meet, and then they really feel a connection with someone they've been talking to because their personality has just a demeanor that they respond to, or, so it's, we've had quite a few people email me saying, I met this person for the first time. We got together and wouldn't have had the guts to do it if I didn't see them on your meet. So it's been really rewarding, unexpected benefits.
Do you have many male fans joining?
We do, actually. We have, let's see, I'm trying to think, we've got about 600 members. That's a great question in terms of a total. I don't think I know the answer. We've got at least 40 guys. Good. And we usually have about 2 or 3 that will make it to a meet. We're very happy when they're on because for why you're asking. We want to know other people's impressions and experiences. That isn't just like, ooh, he was so handsome. Yes. So we love it when the guys come on. We love when the testosterone goes up a little bit. So that's good. So
tell me about your brush with Velvet when you had the wonderful opportunity to meet him.
Well, this was a crazy story. Basically, I think it was back in 93 or 94. David was doing Blood Brothers with Sean. Now, I had seen him previously in early 90s when Danny was opening for him, and he was just making that 90s comeback, David. And I had met him by accident at a racetrack in the 80s, I want to say. But I had never really seen him before. So what happened was they had this local radio station in New York City was having a contest because he was going to be, I guess, on the radio promoting Blood Brothers. So they said, if you want to meet David Cassidy, we're having a contest, basically write a letter to us as why you desperately need to meet David Cassidy. I was like, write a letter. Wow, that's interesting. I'm a wordsmith, whatever, maybe I could do this. So I actually thought to myself, write a letter. That's kind of bland. Everybody's going to write a letter. I'm like, how can I do something a little different? So I wrote a poem. And I wrote my poem to the tune of, I Think I Love You. And the tagline, the bridge, whatever you call it, I don't even know, it was, instead of I think I love you, it was I want to meet you. So the song, So the poem was basically the tune and the lyrics. It wasn't the tune. I didn't send a tape in. It was basically I want to meet you, and then underneath it in parentheses I wrote read to the tune of I Think I Love You, obviously. And so it was basically a stanza by stanza, borrowing some of the wordage and then putting in my own lines with that Tony Romeo influence, I'm sure. And I won. So I was one of the 10 winners, and I was able to bring a guest, and we met the DJ, and we all went to see Blood Brothers, and then we got to meet David after the show on the stage with Sean. We met Petula Clark, so I got to meet him, and it was I can't even describe it. I mean, I asked him if I could kiss him on the cheek, like what nerve? And he said yes. So I did. And I'm sure everyone's asked him that, and he was probably, he was so great about it. I mean, there's all these kooky women there, and we're all 35, and so that's how I met him. And I also had the experience of, I guess my sister knew somebody who worked on Regis and Kathy Lee. Do you know the show? Yes. Regis? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he was going to be on with Sean one morning. advertising that they're in Blood Brothers. I had tickets already. I had bought tickets. I had won tickets, obviously, on the radio station, and I had bought tickets to see it. But so my sister got tickets for us to go see Sean and David on Regis and Kathy Lee when they were going to be on. So we got up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Again, proximity to New York City, very helpful. We got up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, got online, got front row, first come, first serve, like little seats that you sit in. And I'm sure you've been in TV stations, whatever. And I brought my album, my Cherish album. And because I thought maybe if we're after the show, if we see him, I can ask him to sign it, whatever. So I'm sitting there in these little seats with my sister, and I have my album, and it's by my feet, and I have it down by my feet. And Regis comes out ahead of time. Now, this is the episode where David and Sean are going to sing Tell Me It's Not True, which has been all over the internet. And I didn't know this, of course. So I'm sitting there with my album at my feet, my Cherish album. And my sister, I think, has her Sean Cassidy album at her feet. And Regis comes out to welcome the crowd. And he sees us, and he comes over, he goes, "Oh, do you want the boys to sign these albums?" He calls them the boys, whatever. And we're sitting there. First of all, it's Regis Philbin, and he's standing in front of me, and I'm like, I'm going to have a heart attack. And he comes over, he's like, "Would you like the boys to sign your albums or whatever?" And we're like, yeah, sure, if you can get him to do that or whatever. So he takes our albums and a couple of other women's that had them. And all I keep thinking as he's walking away is not, "Oh my God, I'm going to get my album autographed," or, "Oh, I can't believe I just talked to Regis." A whole time I kept thinking, please give that album back to me. Please make sure you give that album back to me. It was my Cherish album. It was my whole life. Like, I didn't want to lose that album. So long story short, they go to the chat in the beginning before they sing. And if you watch it on YouTube and you see the long version of them being interviewed before they sing, Regis holds up my Cherish album. And he starts using it as a prop to talk to David and Sean about the pictures and stuff. And me and my sister were like, "Oh my God." We were like elbowing each other. It was so amazing. And then at the commercial, he brought the albums back, and he had signed right over the red sweater. And it is, I'd say, one of my most prized possessions.
Wow.
Just was an amazing experience. Yeah, I've been very lucky.
Everybody I speak to who's ever met him, no matter how brief, they say it was just the moment in time that stopped me in my tracks. And I either said something completely foolish and then thought, "God, why did I say that?" Or I couldn't say anything at all.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like when I asked if I could kiss him on the cheek. Why did I do that? Like, I mean, what a dopey thing to do. But I did it, and I'm not sorry. But I just felt like, yeah, it was just it was surreal. Yeah, like you said, it was a blur. I don't remember much. And I'm glad that the YouTube video's out there because I don't remember them really singing unless I watch it. So that was pretty cool, meeting him and that happening was, because like meeting him was like a fleeting moment, like you said, but having the album taken and getting signed and giving back and then being able to see it I can just watch it and remember it forever. Those were special times.
Yeah. Did you see his last show at BB King's?
No, this is one of those regrets that people have. I mean, I lived so close and I just didn't go. And I didn't go. So the last time I saw him was Niagara Falls, New Year's Eve of 2004. And my husband got us tickets and we drove all the way up to Canada. And that was the last time I saw him. And 17 years, who knew 17 years later, he was only going to be, 67 years old, or however many years it was, 13 years later. I would have gone to every single moment, but you don't know. That's the thing. It was rough.
I think also because his passing was so unexpected, everybody who hadn't seen him in concert, anyone who hadn't had the opportunity to meet him, felt, I don't have that opportunity now. It's gone. And with that comes the regrets. I wish I'd gone to that concert. I wish I'd stayed after that show and got his autograph. All those little regrets, because with his passing, those opportunities went.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's when everybody went running back to their boxes that were shoved under their beds or in their closets. And it was sort of like when I went to his house, you just want to be near the stuff that was him. And then the next place to go was Facebook and grieve with all the people that were suddenly appearing out of nowhere that were still fans, and we didn't know that there were people out there. I thought I was the only person still vacuuming to the Partridge family.
This is it as well. We all thought, I'm the only one that thinks like this. I'm the only middle-aged woman who still has this candle for my teen idol in the 1970s. But we grew with him.
Yeah.
And I think that was important to everybody. Because of him, we became, in many ways, the people we are today.
I definitely am. I mean, so much so that's why I never put the stuff away. I put the stuff away, but the albums and the music, always listened to it. I remember when I first moved out of my own apartment I shared with a girl, I would wait for her to leave, and then I would blast the Partridge family music. And it was like 1989 or something. So there's no Partridge family for years, but I didn't want anyone knowing I was still listening to the music.
On your virtual fan club, you have some very moving moments when you light candles in his memory.
Yeah, it's a rough one, and it is very moving because the people, we do take it so seriously. And I feel like sometimes if somebody walked in who wasn't a fan or didn't get the idol thing, they'd be like, what is going on? But basically what happened was the first one that we did, the first November 21st meet that we had, because again, the first time that he passed, there was no Zoom or anything like that, really. It was a regular world. So we were by ourselves again. I think a lot of us went to the internet and put pictures of candles and stuff on Facebook so we could, kind of be together. But that was a tough time to be alone for a lot of fans, I think, that night, that November 21st, that first passing. So when the virtual thing hit, I thought, okay, now we can all light candles together. And so the first year we did that, and we told everybody, I would post on the page, get a candle ready, we're going to do that at some point. So we would have the meet, we would do kind of the silliness a little bit. We always knew that eventually it was going to become a very important moment, a part of the experience of the meet. And then at the end, what we did was everybody lit a candle. And what happens is, when you have mute, obviously no one can hear anything. So everybody put themselves on mute, and everybody lit a candle. And then what I did was I took pictures from each of the, the squares that come up. And people sent, if I didn't get a good picture, people sent me one. And I made a book, a PDF file of all the pictures of people's candles. And I asked people, they have a chat box, obviously, in the Zoom. And I asked people to put a comment in of what they were thinking or how they were feeling during the 2 minutes of silence. And then when you record the meet, like I do, and edit it as you do, the chat box is saved as well. And so I took all the comments that people made and I wrote them on the pictures in this PDF book. So it basically was a picture of, it had the person's name at the top. It was the candle with David's picture usually. And then it was their comment and where they were from. And it's this big PDF long file, maybe 40 pages. And I sent it to everybody after I made it. Wow. So everybody had a copy. So that was the first thing. And then the second one, I realized that we could do it a different way. And what I did was I had, this is actually on YouTube. I don't know if you've seen it. I had everybody light a candle, and then what I asked everybody to do was say their name and where they're from, because then the camera on Zoom would go to them. And so, because it always goes to the person talking. So I would try to shut up so people could have the spotlight. And so everybody would, they said their name and where they were from. And then what I did was I edited the meet, and I had one after the other in this big, long, I guess it was probably about 15-minute candle moment of silence. And I put it on YouTube so it could be watched by everybody. And it came out really good. It was very emotional. You could hear people kind of choking up. Yeah, so that's one of the things that we do. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah.
I think that's important because there is not really anywhere for the fans to go. And we find our own ways of remembering him.
Yeah, and for the 120 people or the 80 that come on a meet, I mean, there's 600 people in the club, but when you have a meet, you can't get everybody. The time difference is always a killer. It is a place for these people, and it is saying it's important. Yeah, it's important. It's important to feel like you're not alone, especially when someone you loved is gone. When it's not a family member, where do you go?
He was so much a part of the fabric of so many lives.
Yeah, and I have to say your book really helped me grieve. I pre-ordered your book when it first came out. Then when I got it, I couldn't even look at it for I think a year. I was afraid. I was afraid to read it. And this wasn't that long ago. I mean, he had still been passed for quite a while. And then I think it was last summer, we were at Pennsylvania living in our house, and I would get up every morning and take my tea out to the patio, sit in the sun, and I would read a couple pages of your book while I had my tea. And I didn't realize as I was reading it how much it was helping me feel like I might not have done what this person did, but I would have done that, or, oh my God, that's so funny. I can't believe that person did that. And it just made me feel like that could have been me. Like I just saw myself in so many of the stories. It would help me grieve because I didn't feel alone. And I saw so much happiness in the passages in the book that it really helped me. Don't be sad, So, and I've actually reached out to a couple people from your podcast and from the book that particularly impressed me, what they wrote or what they said. And I actually became friends with them. Jim Solomonis, who I was friends with back before your podcast, but everybody knows Jim Solomonis. And we text back and forth. And this hilarious story in your book, I'm not going to do any spoilers, about the standee, I guess, one of those David standees. I know. And I was laughing so hard. I'm like, I put the book down and I texted Jim because I knew it was probably early enough in Australia. And I'm like, Jim, I just read your story in Louise's book. It is so funny. And so we were going back and forth for 20 minutes. So he's another one. I just get in these spontaneous moods and I'm like, what's the worst that could happen,
Yeah. Thank you, Bob, for that.
No, thank you.
That means a great deal.
Yeah, even as cardboard, he's a stunning piece of work. Yeah, no, so your book has just been really, I love it. It's just been great. So.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Everyone who contributed to that and people that I interviewed will love to know that as well.
Oh, yeah, really, really great.
Talking of cardboard, tell me about your Partridge family bus that does the rounds.
Oh, I can't believe you're bringing that up. That's hilarious.
Everyone's trying to find the original bus, but here we are. You go on tour. Tell us about it.
Yes, basically what happened was I was doing an event in Saratoga, helping run an event in Saratoga. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if we, like those standees that they have, if we were able to bring the bus and people would kind of pose who wouldn't want to do that, right? I mean, it's just crazy. So my husband's like, you're out of your mind. No one's going to do that. And I'm like, you don't understand. They will. So he's usually very supportive, but for this one, he was a little weirded out about it. So basically what happened was I contacted a very close David Cassidy friend of mine named Robin. And I said, hey, will you go halves with me if we make this wooden bus? And then this way it's collapsible and we can bring it from place to place to place. And she said, absolutely. And I hired a friend of mine who was an artist to do it. And he made it for us. And so whenever I go to either a David Cassidy related event or I'm going to see a bunch of friends that are our age, I bring it and everybody loves it. Everybody puts their heads in the windows and hangs their arm out the side. They just love it because, they're a particular age group, so they totally get it. And I did a fundraiser, I want to say, on the 50th anniversary of the Partridge family, and I put it in front of my driveway in New Jersey. And I put a post and I said, I'm not going to be home, but if any of you want to come by and leave, a donation for, I Think I Love You Animal Foundation in my mailbox, take a picture behind the bus and, honor the 50th of the show. And so people did it. People who came to my house, stood in the driveway, took pictures with their little baby grandchildren, their puppies, and then they sent me the pictures and I put them on Facebook. And yeah, and I raised a little bit of money, but and then I went to Saratoga with it, and my girlfriends were all there, and some of them had never seen it, and they got behind it, and the husbands got behind it, and the people in the hotel parking lot are looking at us. What are they doing? And people are waving to us. It was great. And the last place it's been was my husband behind my back brought it to my retirement dinner. And on my retirement dinner, all my friends at school, of course, know my love of the Partridge Family, David Cassidy. And the whole thing was themed Partridge Family. So the placemats were, Mondrian, and all that kind of stuff. And then the bus was kind of in the background. So it was fun. So the bus makes the rounds. Yes. So it'll be coming down to Florida soon. Right now it's still in Pennsylvania, but it'll make it down here. So that's funny that you asked about that. Yeah. It's for fundraising.
Oh, I think it's a fabulous idea.
I'll get you behind it one day, Louise.
I love it.
Yeah. Good, easy fundraiser appeal. It's good for that.
Now, a few weeks ago, I had a wonderful conversation with Gary Contessa.
Yes.
Who I know you're very close to.
He's great.
We were talking about the I Think I Love You Animal Foundation, which was established in David's memory. You are the president of that. Can you tell me about its core values?
Okay. Well, first of all, I heard your interview with Gary, and he is such a great storyteller, and he's got some great stories with David that obviously when we have board meetings, he'll tell us a David story and we'll just laugh so hard. And so your podcast episode was great with him. He was great. A group of fans formed, a very small group of women got together, became friends, got together, formed this foundation, and went to Dr. Belinsky, who I think Gary mentioned on your podcast, a very good friend with David Cassidy, and went to Gary to give us some credibility and don't look like we were just a bunch of fans doing this, temporary fad thing. Then we got some other board members who really aren't, I don't want to say they're not David Cassidy fans, but they don't have the same interest level. They're professionals like in the corporate world. So we've got a mix of David fans and just regular people who want to help the cause. And basically what the cause is we'll help all animals, but our main focus of the I Think I Love You Animal Foundation is retired thoroughbred racing horses. And that's what the main focus is, because as Gary mentioned, that's where David lived. That's really what his main love was in terms of when he left the showbiz world. Horses were what he thought about, what he read about, what he did. And so our main focus is on retired thoroughbred racehorses. And basically, if they need medical attention, if they need sanctuary when they're done racing, they're either, if there's an emergent situation where they need care or help, basically, we're either contacted by someone through our website, I think I love you animalfoundation.org, or we hear of something, or Gary, who's a great resource for us, finds a horse for us. And we did our first fundraiser in July of 2021, and it was fabulous. We raised a lot of money, and we just did a fundraiser for, I guess it was holiday fundraiser. And since Betty White had passed and everybody was asking for donations for charities in honor of Betty White, we also kind of hooked into that, and we made some money there. And basically our fundraiser was for a particular horse named Corbin Gold. This was our holiday fundraiser. And this is a horse who is at a place called Tulsa Boys Home. And basically what it is it's a place where horses help to be therapy for young troubled teenage boys in the area. So when we're helping this particular horse or this particular place, we're also helping, kids. And I can't see David saying no to that. Obviously, he loved children, and there's lots of fundraisers in his past that have to do with kids, obviously. So that was our first big horse that we were able to, because of the generous donations of people through I believe our July fundraiser and our holiday fundraiser, we were able to help this horse, and we're working with them, and we'll help these young boys. And as a former foster mother, I was like all over that. I was like, yeah, let's do this. And we mailed a check to them a couple weeks ago, and they were incredibly grateful. And their life goes on now, and we move on to our mission of, helping restore dignity and spirit to these horses that are no longer racing.
That is a very worthy cause. As you say, it was something very close to David's heart. What are your future plans regarding the foundation?
Yeah, we have we've got another board meeting in March, and we're going to start discussing our next endeavor. The challenge right now is we don't know where the world's going to be in terms of in-person, virtual. Like our first fundraiser was virtual, and there was nothing we could do about it. It had to be virtual. So, and we had great guests, people from David's life. Henry Diltz, Sam Hyman, Rick Siegel was involved. He was the host. Gary was there. And so we really need to discuss, because we want to do another event, as you said, probably around horse racing season. Do we do it in person? Do we do it in Saratoga? Do we go to a different racetrack somewhere in a different part of the country? Can we get people from all over the world to come? So our next one, we really have to hammer out if we're going to continue down virtual or start planning for in-person. It's a really tricky thing to maneuver because you could have all these great ideas, start planning it, get people to come, and then it's canceled because the numbers go up again. So it's a very tricky thing to do. So we will definitely do something. I just don't know the format yet. We've got great people, as I said, on our board, and we're going to start hashing it out in next month.
And you take donations all the time?
All the time. All the time. And sometimes we'll do a little giveaway where, I wish I could show it to you, but it's podcast, so people couldn't see it. We have a dog tag that's really cute. It's got our logo on it. Mm-hmm. And if you have it's like a necklace. And if you do a specific amount donation, I want to say it's $25. We do that at different times of the year. You would get the dog tag. You know how some people give away tote bags and stuff like that. Yes. So, but you can donate anytime, any amount. You can snail mail something into our P.O. box in New York, or you can do PayPal on the website.
What's the website address again?
Yeah, it's ithinkiloveyou.org.
Tell me about the friendships that you have made through David and through the fan club, and what they mean to you and to his legacy.
Well, now I will get emotional, because when you ask me about my David friendships, my heart just overflows. I think David's legacy, I know people say it's the music and stuff. For me, I guess that's part of it. For me, I would say much more of it is the fact that, and what a better legacy than having people become friends because of you and changing people's lives because of friendships. And I really think that is the legacy, because my husband doesn't listen to the music unless he's in the car and we put it on. And the husbands of these friends I have don't listen to music, but they've become friends, the husbands, very good friends, some of them. So that's a legacy. Yeah, so that's why I'm saying friendships that even have nothing to do with the music is the legacy. And so for me, I have become very, very good friends with these women that I didn't even know 5 years ago. I didn't even know them. 5 particular individuals. It might even be 6. I'm probably jipping somebody, and I'm sorry. We talk all the time, texting, we call, we Zoom. And I just met them because of David Cassidy. And it was just one of those things where I met them in a group setting, and you just kind of feel a vibe from someone, the way a friendship grows, and we clicked instantly. We go on trips with the husbands together. We don't only just talk about David Cassidy. We are true, deep friends. I love them dearly, these women. And, we've lost parents in the last 5 years, and we've come to each other. We've had like all these different challenges in our lives. And the first place I go to is the text thread I have with these 6 women when I have something come up in my life, or and I never knew them before. And I've met them in person, obviously. We've gone away for the weekend, and these are people that are in my life, that are physically in my life, and I would never have met them if it wasn't for David. Yeah. And like I said, the husbands have met and become friends. It's just it's a beautiful legacy that you just can have people meet and become friends when you're not even discussed or you're not even around. it really has been an amazing benefit to loving him and having him. And I say on the meets all the time, when I welcome people, I say quite often, I'm glad that we're all here and we've been friends our whole lives. We just didn't know where any of us lived. And that's how I really feel. I feel like I've been friends with these women since I was 10 years old. I just didn't know where they lived. And they live in Belgium, and they live in Denmark, and they live in Long Island, and they live in England. And one of us lives in Texas that I'm very good friends with. And we just had a get together last August. She flew in and we all went to Saratoga together for a weekend with the husbands. But most of us live in the New York area, but to be able to maintain a friendship with someone from Texas is a big deal. It's a big deal.
It's amazing.
So I could go on forever about those women. So don't even get me started.
I know you're going to be going to the unveiling of the star on the Walk of Fame in Las Vegas, where there will be a silent auction for the I Think I Love You Animal Foundation.
Yes, we're very happy that they asked us if we would be the recipient charity, and we said absolutely. And I think they're going to make a lot of money. And I think that it's not even just about the money. I think people are going to be bidding on and getting things that are going to mean a lot to them. That's the great reason for an auction. It's a win-win.
I must ask you about your dog Cassidy.
This is actually a really funny story, and I can't believe it, but this is what happened. We got this puppy, and we brought her home. And of course, we're trying to think of a name for her. She's a Wheaten Terrier, soft-coated Wheaten Terrier. She looks like a Labradoodle. A lot of people think she's a Labradoodle. So she has very curly blonde hair, and she's just the cutest thing. And so she's in our house and she's hiding under the sofa because she's, suddenly somewhere different. And we're trying to think of names. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, maybe we should name her Sweetie because it's like Wheaten, sweeten, that kind of thing. And, play with words or whatever. And so we're like, it was the winter time. We're in the house and my husband's watching football. And every once in a while we'd look at her and throw her name out and I'd be like, well, I can't name her Keith. I'm trying to think of a David Cassidy, Partridge Family kind of thing. Maybe I could name her Bandala. My husband's like, you're not naming her Bandala like that. And so I'm like, well, I can't name her Partridge. And all of a sudden my husband, like the next day, he looks at me, he's like, why don't I name her Cassidy? And I'm like, of course. I'm like, I can't believe I didn't think of that. I'm going David, I'm going, Keith. I'm like, he's like, and then he looked it up and it's an Irish name and it means curly hair. So yeah. So isn't that crazy? So she got her name because my husband named her, because I couldn't believe that I didn't think of it myself. That's how she got her name.
Your husband deserves a special David Cassidy award.
He's very patient, thoughtful about it. He totally gets it. When we got married in 2009, when they announce you, for the first time, Mr. and Mrs. James Collentine, we walked into I Think I Love You was being played. People started cracking up and laughing because they knew, of course, that was like my life. And his friends were just like, oh my God, this poor man, And then the other thing that's probably one of the nicest things he's ever done for me, besides bring the bus up to Saratoga for the weekend, and all my friends were able to take pictures, and I had no idea he was doing that. When David passed that day, that morning I woke up and David was, obviously I went to bed that night before, and it was a work night, so I went to bed early, and I knew he was sick and he was in the hospital. And I was really worried, and I was constantly checking on Facebook and everything. And I woke up the next morning and I went into the bathroom and my phone had 53 messages, text messages on it. And I thought, he died. And I started shaking and I opened up the phone and I scrolled through all of them. I didn't look at them. And I looked for my husband's name because I wanted him to be the one to tell me. I wanted his message to be the one. And I found his name and it said, I'm so sorry. Call me if you need to. And that's when I knew, and I read the rest of them. And then that night he came home with flowers for me. Oh. Yeah. He knew, he got it. He gets it. I call him the president of the DC Husbands Club. Because he's a good sport. He's a good sport. And he loves sitting around bars when we're out with my DC women friends with the husbands, and they just sit there and roll their eyes and they talk about sports and we talk about David Cassidy.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah, he's great.
Oh, he sounds awesome. I really appreciate you spending so much time and talking to me about David and what he's meant to you.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. I mean, I hope it was what you expected.
It's important that we keep his memory alive, and it's important that we continue to preserve his legacy.
Yeah, and I think we're doing that. I think in different formats to keep the name out there and to keep the knowledge growing. Is really what the goal is, I think, for everybody, and to make ourselves feel better that this was a loss, but we can keep going. Yeah, I tend to wonder sometimes if this would all be going on while he was alive, is it because it wasn't happening before, So I don't think I would have done the virtual fan club if he was still alive. You know what I mean? Like there's just such a loss, like you said, and we're looking for something to keep it alive, to keep thinking about it and to keep experiencing it, watching the show, listening to the music, watching clips of him performing. I don't know if this would all be happening if he was still alive. So it's kind of sad that you have to, this always happens when you lose people.
This is an illustration of how much he mattered.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, yeah, he mattered to people, and he changed lives or even made people do certain things. So yeah, definitely. Forever grateful that I lived during the time that he was alive, because I don't know. It definitely informed me as a person. So
I have enjoyed this afternoon so much.
Thank you. It was just such a thrill to meet you. You're very easy to talk to, and it's a great topic. And I hope to meet you in person one of these days when either you come to the States or I come to the UK, because I'm starting to fly again and getting more adventurous now that I'm retired.
It'd be fabulous to meet you in person.
I just, I can't appreciate you more and what you did for my life in terms of the book. Yeah, the book it's just important.
So thanks very much to Barb Collentine there for joining me this week. Don't forget, you can find us wherever you get your podcast from. And until we connect again,